mi gente, your boy Skyy John here today with Jinny Oh.
Hey.
Okay, Jinny, tell them who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure. My name is Jinny, and I'm the CEO of WANDR. We're an award-winning product strategy and UX design firm. And what's really cool about our company is that everyone that works here works remotely. So we service our clients in three primary ways, mostly around user experience. So it's product development, user onboarding, and design system.
So this would all be like more app-related, software-related?
Yeah, it's software-related, correct.
Okay. You just said all your employees work remotely, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
See, that's the cool thing. So the main thing about you is you like to work remotely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you find employees to do that?
It's really not that difficult. I mean, everybody wants to work from home. Although, actually, I take that back. There are some more people who prefer to go to an office. But for us, everything is done online. So we find our clients online. We find our people online. So everything is on digital.
Okay. So, but if you're working remotely, you could end up with a situation where you are in China. I'm your client. I'm here in America.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a huge time difference. So that means you really have to be up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning working.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy as people think it is because they don't really think about the time difference.
Yeah, that's true. So when we first initially started, we were working around that time zone difference. So we had people out in Europe, we had people in Asia, but now we're a little bit more conscious about where we hire people. So even though it's still remote, we let everybody know, like, hey, we're working Pacific time. So we want you to be online during these hours, although like they have the flexibility to not be online during 9 to 5 Pacific time, just as long as that they're getting their work done.
Okay, so how did you come up with the idea to start this business? Tell us the story, okay, from the beginning, because you have some interesting pieces.
Yeah.
I need you to fill in a couple blanks on. So,
Sure.
So let's go back to college. You're in college. What do you want to be?
So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. You know, I was one of those people who would just like make some crafts and then go to school and try to sell it.
Damn, you were good.
So I was always like pretty artistic, pretty creative. And for me, I'm like, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I never knew what kind of entrepreneur I wanted to be. So right before college, I actually thought I was going to be a fashion designer. So I applied to art school.
You're good at drawing and designing?
Yeah, I love anything creative. So I thought I was going to be a fashion designer. And then my parents were like, oh, no, you're not going to art school. You're going to a regular 4-year university. You better get a business degree. And then you can study art with your own money. So I ended up going to UNC Chapel Hill. I went there to study business. And funny enough, they didn't let me in their business program.
Why?
My grades were not high enough, and
You had bad grades?
I had good grades. You know, I came in with all A's from high school, but in college, my grades started to drop, and they're
I
like,
wonder why your grades were dropping. Were you partying?
I was partying a lot.
You in a sorority?
Like, I was in a sorority, like most typical college students in
Were you
the
drinking
South.
a lot?
Oh yeah, four 4 days a week.
4 days a week. So you had control. You had a schedule. You would just do 4, 3 off. I mean, that's a good balance.
Yeah, I guess so. Like typical college students. At least in my opinion, that was typical. I don't know about what the audience would say.
Okay, so that brings up a point. So you joined the sorority and you wrote an article about the sorority that got you in trouble.
Yes.
Okay, explain this.
So I wrote many articles. So when I was in college, I had this blog. It was completely anonymous, and I was chronicling. Is that a word?
Yeah, chronicling.
I was writing about my time in a sorority.
All the secrets.
All the secrets,
Oh,
all the
shit.
things that were going down, things that bothered me, things that I thought were juicy that other people who might other people who might relate to it or even not even relate to it just want to read about what's going on. So I started writing, and I told a couple sisters, like, hey, like when it got popular, I was like, hey, by the way, like I'm the writer, I'm the author, because I thought at that time, like I was kind of like bragging about it. It's like so popular. But little did I know how much trouble I was going to get into by sharing that little secret. So, one thing led to another. And
so you got kicked out of the sorority?
I got kicked out of my sorority.
How's that happen? Like, was it like?
It's kind of funny because I don't think I've ever really talked openly about it. So this is the first time. So I
all these interviews you did, no one asked this question?
No one asked, so yeah.
Hey, y'all need to do a better job out there. Okay, I'm at the bottom and I'm asking better questions. Go on, sorry.
I like
sorry
that you do your research. Yeah, so I got kicked out and, I got threatened many times from the sorority legally that, this could be slander, libel. There were a lot of people who read about it. They read that it was a story about them. They were really upset. So I got, verbal threats, physical threats as well.
Did you delete this eventually?
Oh yeah, that was I had to immediately. It was a really, really low, dark point in my life, and I say it with a smile now because it's just such a long time ago. But I think it's taken me a really long time to finally get over it and be okay with it.
How long has it been?
That happened in 2010.
Okay, so almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
Okay, now here's the sweet part. Can you tell us something that was in this article that freaked them out so much?
I think it's just being part of a sorority. You have so many secrets, and it's...
Yeah, but what was one of these secrets? You already snitched, so you might as well let us know, okay?
It's not so much the secret. It's just it's like regular gossip, but they just keep it so tight-knit, nobody else should know outside of this group.
Okay,
so
would it have been a
bothered
situation
them.
Sarah had a boyfriend, Joe, but she was actually hooking up with Jack? Was it something like that?
On that lines, too, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Sarah was pissed. But you didn't call her name, or you called her name?
I did not call their names, no.
Okay.
No. I gave them, nicknames. So if, Sarah hooked up with a guy, it would be, the hookup girl or something like that. But when you read the stories, people, once they know who that person is, who I'm referring to, it all kind of makes sense.
Okay.
So that's what pissed everybody off.
What was the juiciest part, though?
Oh, man.
Just give us something juicy. Trust me, no one's watching us or listening to us. Okay? There are 10 people watching this. Give them the fair.
I think, honestly, the juicy parts were all the hookup stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were so sorority girls. So you were the bad girl sorority.
I think every sorority is bad in some way. That's why they were pissed, because I was letting out the secret that they're not all good.
Okay. So there was so much pressure you had to drop out of school.
Yeah. So I was going into my sophomore year, and immediately right off the bat, they're like, you're out. So what hurt for me was I had already moved into my sorority. Oh. I moved in, I paid my dues for the year. And they made me go through Rush, which is the time of year where we're recruiting for new girls. It's really stressful. And then right after, they're like, okay, you need to pack up your bags and go.
What?
Bye.
Why'd you feel so comfortable telling these girls that it was you?
Because there was a line of trust there. Again, I was 18. I thought that was something to brag about.
Okay.
Now looking back at it, I'm like, that is so stupid. There are better things in the world to brag about, So
you dropped out, and then what happened?
I went home. And then
to your very parents who wanted you in college.
Yeah, I went home. I called them that day, and I remembered not really being able to explain to them why, because there's such a generation and cultural gap between my parents and I.
Your parents are from?
I'm originally from Korea, and we all immigrated.
Okay, so you were born in Korea.
I was born in Korea. Yep. And so I told my parents, I was just like, hi, I'm coming back home, and I'm not going back to school. It's funny because I'm still stuttering as I'm saying.
No, I can tell you shaking a little bit. She's a little nervous. Dad, please just chill. It's in the past. She's successful now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I told them hey, I'm coming home, and they're like, yeah, okay, because they thought I meant I'm coming home for the weekend. I was like, no, I'm gonna come home. I don't like school. I'm gonna figure out something else. And they're like, okay, why? And I was like, I'll explain when I'm home. So I packed up and I came home, and for a couple of weeks I was really depressed. I wasn't doing anything. I was just waking up, eating, just being on the internet, Facebook, and then going back to sleep again for a couple of weeks until I finally snapped out of it. I was like, okay, I want to do something positive. I need to get back on the grind. What can I do? Well, I've got all these college books. Let me go on eBay and sell them.
So you sold your books?
So I sold on eBay, and then I was like, oh, wow, that was really easy. That was really fast. What else can I sell? So I started going through my closet, and I tried to find anything that had a designer name on it, and then put that up on eBay and sold that. I was like, oh, this is cool. So I was just for a few months, I was just selling on eBay.
So you would buy stuff and sell it too?
Yeah. So I would go to factory outlet malls. And the best one would be Coach, where they would have 75% final red ticket sale. I'd buy a whole bunch of that and then like mark it up 200, 300% and sell it on eBay.
This girl's an entrepreneur, homeboy. So that was pretty successful.
It was for a college student, yeah, I guess so.
Okay, but you don't feel like you could have even scaled that a little bit more to bring in even more? Or you didn't want to?
I didn't want to. And then what ended up happening was my parents were very pushy. They're like, being Korean, they're like, okay, you need a 4-year degree. You're going back to school. And I thought about transferring to a different school, and I thought about staying home a little bit longer. And I said, I actually can graduate really early. I don't need to do the full 4 years. And so I went back to school and ended up graduating like the following year.
Same school?
Same school, yeah.
So you still ran into some of the girls?
Yeah.
You don't have like a big bad boyfriend? You can date someone on the football team, just be like, here, homeboy, I ain't in love, but I need some protection. Let's do this, no?
No, I didn't have a boyfriend. Chapel Hill, for those it's like an 8-to-2 ratio of like girls to guys.
Really?
Yeah.
8?
Well, I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but at least that's how it felt like.
It's significantly more girls than guys.
Significantly more girls than guys.
You know how many dudes just signed up just now?
All the guys in San Francisco are flying over to North Carolina now.
Yep, I'm going to Chapel Hill. Okay, I like the ratio. Okay. So you go back to school and you finish in a year.
Yeah, so I did like a semester, and then I went a semester abroad, and then I came back. But essentially, I graduated when I was 20 years old.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. And the parents are cool now?
They're so cool now. Yeah.
I mean, at that time, they were cool.
At the time, they were cool. Yeah, they were still worried because I didn't share a lot with them. I just said, like, I'm not feeling very great. But what I was really going through was depression. And I didn't really explain to them what that really meant. They just thought I was sad and lonely.
Probably buy you a dog and be like, hey, okay, happy now? Back to school. So, based on your experience, do you really need a degree?
No. No, not at all. And what's funny is I ended up going, I hate school so much, but I ended up going for my master's right after that too.
Really?
Yeah. And like, I don't regret it per se, but for what I'm doing now, I'd say.
That sounds like a little regret.
No, it's not a regret because I loved my experience at my master's program. Like, it was amazing. I got to travel a lot.
What was your master's in?
It's called global entrepreneurship.
Okay.
So I got to spend some time in China, in France, and in the Midwest. I loved everyone in the program. It's 30 students from literally around the world. There was only one other American guy. Everyone else was from places that I've never even heard of before. So it was an amazing, amazing experience. So I don't regret it. But if I can be 18 again, I would tell myself, like, hey, here's $10,000 and go do something with it rather than go pursue education.
Because a lot of dudes rack up debt that they will never even be able to pay.
Oh, yeah.
And then and some people study stuff that you're not gonna make money in this particular field. Like, I have friends who study social work and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
And it's cool because they're really trying to make society better.
Yeah.
And they take out loans, and I'm like, man, a social worker is not going to be able to pay back all this money you owe, especially to some of these, very expensive schools.
Yeah. And I've come across so many people who are just really unhappy with what they're doing. And so they're like, oh, I'm going to go back to school to learn more and be more in debt and come out and still be unhappy with what I'm doing, but I have to pay off the debt that I already have. And it just makes no sense. It's just this vicious cycle. Like, go pursue something that's actually going to fulfill you and make you happy. But it's always easier said than done. Yeah.
Well, do you think the government should push more people? I mean, what do you do though as a parent? Do you push your kids towards college or not? Like, how do you handle that?
I think as a parent, you should push your kids to gain real life experiences before going to school. That time between high school and college, I wish someone told me take a gap year. I didn't even know what a gap year was. And I got mine during college, but man, I think I would have just had such a better time in university had I known exactly what I wanted to get out of it.
Cool.
By taking a gap year.
So when did you decide to found this company,
WANDR. Yeah. Complete accident, like most good things. So going back into the timeline, so when I was doing my master's, I was working on my first tech startup. It's a mobile app for financial receipts.
This was your app, or
This was my app.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was my app. So during my studies, I was doing a lot of research and I was building out the prototype. And after my master's program, I actually moved to China because I had spent some time there during a semester. I was like, wow, there's a huge market for what I'm developing right now. I want to go back and I want to see if there's an opportunity for me there. So I spent some time to go fundraising, build the team, and just, see where it goes. I was 21, didn't know anyone there, didn't know Chinese, and I was just like, I just want the next adventure.
What city?
I was in Shanghai.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in Shanghai. So much fun. And everything just started to crumble.
Hold on, what you mean everything started to crumble?
I was there on a tourist visa. So first of all, my visa expired. So I was.
How long were you in country before it expired?
3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 months. And I couldn't raise money and I couldn't finish building the prototype. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing clearly. I need to learn some more. And I just said, all right, I'm done. I need to move on to the next thing. And I came out to LA, not to move here, actually. I just came to visit. I came to visit a guy that I was dating who ended up being my ex-boyfriend. And I just never left.
Are you still friends?
We're still friends. Yeah, he's still a good mentor of mine.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you were in China for 3 months. You moved back here.
Yeah, I moved back here.
And then, okay.
And then I was just bumming around. I didn't have a job. I was just bumming around at his apartment. And I was like, man, this kind of sucks. I don't think I want a job because that's not what I want to do. I want to be an entrepreneur. But I don't know what kind of company I want to build out. I need money. I feel like a piece of shit right now for just not doing anything. I'm clearly not a good house girlfriend because the apartment is constantly messy and there's no food on the table. So I wasn't good at that either. So I remembered he was telling me that he was hiring a bunch of engineers on this platform called Odesk. So I was like, I wonder what that is. If you can hire an engineer, maybe you can hire a designer too, since that was kind of the skill set that I was building up during school. So I went online to odesk.com, which is now Upwork. And I was
it's now Upwork.
It's now Upwork. So Odesk and Elance merged to create Upwork.
Explain what Upwork is, just for people who haven't heard about that before listening to this.
Upwork is awesome. So you can find people from around the world who are just offering any kind of online services. So everything from voice acting, accounting, engineering, content writing, anything that you can do online, you can find people from around the world.
And all you influencers out there, who have a bunch of different pages and you need moderators and stuff like that, you could also go to Upwork.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on. So finish the story.
So I went on Odesk and I signed up for it. I was like, this is cool. Let me see if I can get any kind of gig from it. And literally the first gig I ever got, the guy paid me $10 or $15 to write 3 articles. I was like, I'll take it. I'll take anything. And I did it. It took me 2 weeks to write the 3 articles, got paid $15, and I was like, all right, that wasn't too bad. he wrote this enormous, phenomenal review for me. So I was like, oh, that's amazing. I could now double my rate. And that's literally how WANDR's early days was. I was a freelancer who just kept doubling my rate every time I got a review. And eventually I stopped doing content writing and just fully migrated over to design. And thank goodness I did that. And I was freelancing for about a year or so. And I was like, okay, I'm at a good place now where I can maybe bring on another freelancer, especially since I felt like my designs were still not good for how much I was charging. I was like, this could be better.
When you say that, you're talking like web design here.
Yeah,
okay.
web design, app design. And so I was searching through Odesk to see who else was available that had really good design portfolio, but that was cheaper than me, so that I could do the markup again.
It almost sounds illegal. Go on.
But it's not. Welcome to the agency world. So that's literally what I did. I found a guy super talented. He was still a student in the Netherlands. I hired him. He was charging $25 an hour, and I was charging my clients $50 an hour. And that was kind of the initial, I would say, the pathway to WANDR. So and then we finally incorporated in June 2016, and then I brought in all the freelancers that I was working with full time.
So does he still work for you?
No, he moved on. We're still in contact. He's so smart that like he ended up going to a startup where he had a lot of equity into. Yeah.
Okay. Dude, that's a super cool story. So and you just kept building on it, and so WANDR's still going.
Yeah,
so
still going.
If I'm looking to build an app, then I come to see you.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any if you work remotely so much, because I'm assuming you're traveling a lot, how do you stay focused? Because imagine being in Thailand right now at some party, but I have an app that's supposed to be ready to go tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, how do you balance that though?
Yeah, I mean, with everything in life, it's about balance, right? So you can also say like, well, in LA, there's a lot of distractions. Like you can go out on weekends and party and whatnot.
But when you're traveling, it's different because when you're not home, it's kind of like I'm on vacation in a way. Right. You can't look at it like that.
Sure. And I think it's just the lifestyle and the mindset, because when I travel, it's not so much I'm on vacation mode. I'm actually still working every single day. So by having that mindset and like not having FOMO, like, oh my gosh, I'm in Thailand, I'm only here for 2 days, I got to knock everything down. I'm able to stay focused, because what ends up happening is I go somewhere and I'll stay there for 2 weeks versus 2 days. So that way, I'll spend the morning times doing work, and then maybe the afternoon do some sightseeing, and then come back and finish my work in the evenings.
You ever had to fire someone?
Do I what?
You ever had to fire somebody?
Oh, yeah. It's hard.
How do you do it?
It's so hard. I let my managers do it.
That's a Donald Trump move. Tweet it out. You are no longer working here.
No, but that's the great thing about having a number two with me. Is she gets to be the back.
Oh, so your number two is a woman is ready as well.
Yeah, okay. She's amazing. She's so badass. Yeah.
But what happens if you have to fire her? How would you handle that?
Oh my God. I hope that day never comes. You're asking all the tough questions. You know that? No, but everything is about communication. So, one, why is there a reason that I have to fire someone, right? So I always have to document, like, when the slip-ups are happening. So that way, when that time comes, they also understand, like, hey, here are concrete examples of where I told you that you could improve, and we still didn't see an improvement. And I think it's better that we part ways. So
Cool. Does the glass ceiling still exist? Or it's beginning to crack?
In terms of?
Just in general, with women in the workplace. Firstly, let's start here. Are men intimidated by you?
I don't know if they would use... depends on the situation. I think in normal social settings, probably. Probably. In work settings, I don't know if it's intimidation or more misunderstanding. Because they see me, they're like, oh, like, there's a cute little Asian girl, like, what does she know about technology, I
mean, she is Asian, dude. I mean, they know a lot, okay?
Yeah, so I think people see me, they think I'm, like, sometimes they think I'm an intern, like, seriously, so...
You've had that. Hey, could I get some coffee? I'm waiting on the boss.
Not recently, though, because I think I've built up so much self-confidence that when I now walk into a meeting, like, people know, like, oh, yeah, that's the boss.
So you walk in not smiling, looking like you're about to slap someone. What you looking at it,
yo? No, it's not that. But I think when I was initially starting, it was a lot of my own, like, self-doubt and having imposter syndrome. Like, oh, man, like, I know my shit is good, but I don't think I really believed in it to really sell it. And now it's like I have a whole team behind me. Like, we're one of the best UX agencies in the country, I would say. So, like, I have that confidence to, like, walk into a room and say, like, okay, this is who I am. Like, if I intimidate you, sorry. Like, I can be a little bit more friendly, but take it or leave it.
But in a dating situation, guys are definitely...
In a dating situation, I think, they're a little bit more on the intimidated side. Yeah.
Because, I mean, we haven't been doing well lately, guys, Not many of us going to college anymore. Well, like earlier we said college is necessary, so you have to give us... We ahead of the curve by not going. But, then you meet a successful girl who making more money than you. That's tough. Is that weird for you, dating a guy who you make more than?
I don't think I've ever dated a guy who makes
Less than you
less
do.
than I do. Yeah,
Could you
because
do it though?
I don't think so. Because I've always liked guys that challenge me and
That's an honest answer.
yeah, and that could teach me and vice versa. Like I want to teach them, but in different ways and just be able to learn from each other.
What if he really loves you and he's like a perfect house husband?
Oh, you're funny. I
When you come home, the house is clean.
oh man, that sounds so nice.
You have food ready to go cooked. He's a chef too, okay?
Oof.
And he has an accent. You know, Jenny, the dinner is ready. I love you. You know? It is my
Oh my
favorite.
god, I think I'm blushing. Woo. Oh my gosh. Where's the AC? Turn the AC on, guys.
How do you handle that?
I'm literally red right now. I don't know if you can see through the camera. Oh my god. Whew. Well, first of all, I have a boyfriend.
I'm just saying, you're single. So, I mean, okay. I mean, is this kind of guy? I mean, would that... It's still tough because you won that challenge.
It's tough. So there was a guy who I would say kind of fits that. He didn't have an accent, but I'd say he kind of fits that where you can see that he's just so loving and like he like could be a really good house husband, boyfriend, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. I guess for me, like I want like that anchor where like I'm like, oh, like he's up here, like I got to step up my game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so.
all right. That's challenge. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, haters can hate, but I kind of agree with that to an extent because for me, it's always weird. I mean, if a girl makes a lot of money and she wants to date a guy who doesn't make as much as her, that's fine. But it's always weird for me when I see a guy, you know, with a decent job, but he's dating like some celebrity, right? Who's making 100 times as much as him. And he's given her a $3 million engagement ring that he had to borrow the money from her to pay for, that he'll never necessarily be able to pay. You see, like, it's like...
Well, maybe he has a big dick.
Okay, I mean, I don't know if that worth $3 million, but okay, all right, okay.
Carrying on.
Okay, all right. So you travel a lot. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, somewhere I saw you took your first solo trip at 16.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
solo where?
To Mexico in Cozumel.
By yourself?
I was part of a program, but essentially I was by myself. Yeah.
So explain that.
So it's like a regular, like kind of like a study abroad program. So it's for all these students in Canada. Doesn't matter what school you go to, and they have programs where you can go to Mexico or France or wherever they have programs.
Okay.
So I got to spend a summer out there when I had just turned 16, and just forever changed my life.
Were you living with a family or something?
No, I was. So I think they had maybe 40 students from all over Canada, and we took over an entire hotel, and that was kind of like our classroom
Dude,
slash.
that's like a party.
Every day. Every day, just think about it. I mean, you're 16, you're in Mexico, no parents, you're pretty much partying every single night.
So you speak 3 languages. So that's what I saw somewhere.
Kind of.
You speak 2.
The third one's janky.
Okay, so Korean, you should be fluent.
Korean, I'm fluent, English. And French.
And French.
Yeah.
Where'd you pick up French?
Canada. I was
In Montreal?
No, it's just mandatory that you take French up to grade 9, and then I took it all the way up to university, and then I studied abroad in France as
So
well.
you've lost it by not using it.
I've just never been good at it.
So but you're in business and you're working with tons of international clients and people that live internationally.
Yeah.
If an American right now has to learn a second language, I guess it really depends on who you are. But just in general, what's the best second language to know right now? Would it be Chinese? Would it be Spanish? What is it?
I think it just depends on what you're looking to do. I think China's gonna,
They keep growing.
They
I noticed
keep growing,
that's a
yeah.
difficult freaking language. I've tried.
oh yeah.
That shit's hard.
It's hard. It's really hard. I mean, a lot of Korean words are similar to Chinese, and even so, I can't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really hard. So I'd say between Chinese and Spanish, but I don't know. I think it depends on what you really want to do.
In terms of like software design and all that sort of stuff, it would probably be Chinese, hey?
I mean, if you want to do software design, I'd say go learn Russian.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many talented engineers out there in Eastern Europe.
And most of them, like, I know a lot out of Ukraine and Bulgaria and stuff like that. So Russian is kind of the common language that they speak.
Yeah. I mean, Ukrainians have their own language, but they'll understand Russian.
Yeah.
So a lot of our early designers were from Russia and Ukraine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So you've lived in 5 countries, my understanding.
Yeah.
Which 5?
So I was born in Korea. I'm actually a Canadian citizen, so I was there for 9 years.
Really? You're a Canadian citizen?
I'm a Canadian citizen,
You can't vote? Okay. All right. Okay.
So I can't vote. I've been here in the U.S., of course, France and China.
Okay. How long were you in France?
About 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And China for a few months?
Yeah.
Cool. Now, in total, you've been to about 40 countries?
A little over 40 countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Such a hard question. I love all my travels. They're all so different. Colombia has a special place in my heart.
What happened in Colombia? I could tell it was a dude there.
No.
There was no dude involved in that.
There's no dude involved in that.
Because usually when, dude, I was in Colombia? Man. Okay, when you hear something like that, that means that there was someone there. Okay, but go on.
Funny enough, I hear so many of my guy friends who are like, I went to Colombia, I'm never coming back.
Why?
I don't know. There's something about the Colombian women, but I never hear my my female friends who go to Colombia be like, oh man, that Colombian dude, I'm going to stay. Like, it's always the guy side.
You mean guys wanting to stay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have like 2 separate friends who ended up like living in Colombia because they just like met the love of their life.
Two males, you mean?
Yeah, 2 different males who went to Colombia, fell in love with a woman there, and yeah.
Yeah, because Colombia, I mean, I was in Medellin, and dude, they beautiful. Oh my God. Yeah.
They also say that's like the plastic surgery capital of South America.
Very true. You know, I mean, but Brazil have good doctors, Colombia have good doctors. I mean, who's real now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're also in LA. This is a capital for plastic surgery too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there are some really beautiful women in Colombia.
Yeah.
So
but that's not why I loved it.
Why did you love it?
It was just the adventure. I was there for like a couple months. I went all over the country, the beach, the mountains, the islands.
What was your favorite city?
There's an area, the coffee region. It's called Salento, and they've got the world's tallest palm trees, and it's just so beautiful. You've got like mountains, fog, and these like really, really, really tall palm trees. They're kind of like double the size of what you see here in California.
Even bigger because ours are tall.
Yeah,
even taller than those.
Even taller than those.
Crap, guys, that's high. Because our palm trees are tall. Okay.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And the people are amazing. It's just a beautiful country.
So Colombia's at one of your tops. What else?
It's one of my top.
Let's go top 5. I mean, you could pick 5 countries.
Okay. I just recently went to Ecuador, so I was there for 3 weeks.
Did you go to Galapagos?
It was amazing.
It's beautiful?
It was amazing. It was so amazing.
Is Charles Darwin buried out there? I'm not sure where he's buried. No?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm
They
actually
didn't float
not
him
sure.
out? Okay. I don't know. I'm just asking.
I don't know. But I was there with my boyfriend, and we spent 8 days on a live aboard ship.
Yeah.
So we're like 0 reception. It took us, 2-3 days to get to our first stop in the Galapagos. So we flew from LA to Guayaquil to the Galapagos Island, and from there we took like an 18-hour boat ride. It was so long to get to the very first point. There were just schools of hammer sharks everywhere.
Were you all in the water at some points?
Yeah, we were scuba diving for 8 days.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, like deep scuba diving, huge 40-feet whale sharks like everywhere. I used to love turtles when I was scuba diving, and because they were just all over, I'm just kind of oh, there's another turtle. No big deal. That's how amazing the water in the Galapagos
and very
were.
clear, and you could see everything.
Yeah, it was pretty clear. So cold though.
So bring. Okay, going back to the whole remote travel thing.
Yeah.
You notice you just said allow you like off the grid.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you're not going to have Wi-Fi and all that shit out there.
No.
So how do you cope with that? You just have to plan around it.
I have to plan around it. So I feel like each year I'm kind of like stress testing my team to see how much longer I can go offline for. So the previous year I was in Machu Picchu and I was offline for 4 days. This year I was offline for 8 days.
Okay.
So I feel like
So 16 is coming up.
16 is coming up.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Where you going?
I don't know. I don't know yet. We'll
Deep on
see.
the Serengeti. She's hunting,
Well, we'll just spin the globe and just pick a spot.
Okay, so Galapagos, you had Colombia. Where else?
I think China also has a special place in my heart.
Okay.
It's an interesting place, man. Like, I have like this like love-hate relationship for it. Like when I was there were so many times where I'm like, I fucking hate this place. Like it's so backwards. I don't understand this culture. And there's just so many things about the Chinese culture that I could not relate to. Even being an Asian descent, I couldn't relate.
Give me an example.
The spitting.
Yeah, what the fuck is up with
the
they do that? They do it in
Here?
every yes.
You're fucking
in this building. Okay, so the part of LA I live in, guys, we have a lot of Asians in this part of LA, right? And so we have Chinese, a significant number of Chinese in this building. They don't all do it. So let me not pin it on all Chinese, but I've seen them in the elevator and they spit a lot. You know, and that's why in Singapore, when Singapore was developing, that's one of the reasons why the leader that they had did not want people chewing gum, because chewing gum encourages spitting, and he wanted to wipe that out. You see?
Yeah.
But what's up with the spitting?
So from my understanding, and someone please fact check me, the Chinese think that your spit in your mouth is considered dirty. So that's why they need to spit it out. But they don't really have regards for where they do it.
Because I've seen them do it on videos on the bus and everywhere.
On the bus, subway, in the restaurants, anywhere indoors. Like it's just, and I'm
in
not
restaurants?
inside restaurants. And I'm not saying it like trying to be racist or anything. Like this is like what actually happens in China. It's just culturally accepted.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's very backwards.
Well, this is America, homeboy. Keep that in your mouth.
Swallow.
What else would you say was unusual about Chinese culture?
I think so. They have this thing called keeping face, where they tell you one thing, and they'll kind of like keep a happy, smiley face and say yes to whatever you want, without really understanding what you're trying to tell them or what you need, because they don't want to come across as a negative person or someone saying something against you. I really don't know how to explain it, but like if I say like, hey, can you get this done by Friday? They'll say yeah. And then comes Friday, they haven't even started. So I've kind of faced that a lot as well. The no lines also annoyed me.
What you mean?
Like line, the concept of a line does not exist in China.
Like standing in line to get something?
Yeah, does not exist.
No?
No, it does not exist. There were so many times where I thought it was a line and I stood and I'd just be there like looking stupid. Yeah, no concept of a line.
Okay, so we got Colombia, we got Ecuador, we got China.
Wait, I think I have to say some good things about China.
Go ahead, say something good about the Chinese.
Because I've only been saying shit, and it's on my favorite countries list. People are gonna think I'm crazy.
Okay, what was good about China?
To me, just the time in China, it's kind of like the wild, wild west where anything can happen. There are just so many opportunities, so many people that I met that the expat community there are really tight knit. So if you needed something, they'll connect you to someone that you can talk to like right away. So I love that. And I miss that a lot actually. So it was just more of the adventure of being in a completely out of my comfort zone. Yeah.
What do you think happens if China suddenly becomes the dominant country in the world? What do you think this world would look like? Do you think that could happen, firstly?
At this rate, yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. I mean...
But you see the problems with their government, with their style of government right now with the coronavirus, because their initial instinct is to hide stuff
it. Mm-hmm.
that you need to know.
Yeah.
So tons of people all over the world can die as a result of that single action in China.
Right.
And I have a feeling that the world, when this all blows over, because a lot of people can lose family members based on this disease, that's not going to go over so easy.
So I think it's two-parted. Like, one, it's cultural, and China has kind of been secluded in that culture for a very long time. But the second part, I think, is also generational, because like they were secluded, they just keep ingraining this culture of like, let's hide the information, let's keep face. But I think as the younger generation is coming to power, I think slowly it's going to change. Yeah. Especially because the Chinese are traveling as well, and they're being exposed to
all
other
these different cultures. Yeah, because like I said, we have a lot of Chinese here, and I say not all of them do it. You know, they're becoming Americanized. That's right, Xi Jinping. We're coming for you. So you pick your three countries. China. What would be the fourth one now?
My fourth one.
Country that you absolutely loved. She's lost in thought.
I am lost in thought because there's like the country aspect of it, and then there's the experience aspect. I'd say South Africa was pretty awesome the experience.
Never been. I've heard like mixed stuff because it's supposed to be pretty dangerous. Or you didn't experience that?
I didn't experience that, but we were also kind of in our bubble. So I had such an amazing experience in South Africa because my girlfriends and I actually won a contest. So our entire trip was paid for. So this was like right after grad school. We entered this contest. It was a video contest about like what freedom means to you, and we made this like super cheeky, cheesy like video, like, oh, like this is freedom in my country. This is like, it was really cute, and we won the contest, and it was sponsored by South African Airways. They flew us out. We spent a whole week there, and we always had people with us, so it never really felt dangerous. Although when we were in Johannesburg, they're like, okay, yeah, you got, if you want to leave, please call one of us, and we'll escort you.
Cool. Okay, one more on this list because you always said pick five.
I'm thinking because I feel like I'm going to say something and then I go home and I'm like, oh, fuck, I didn't say this one. I
like you swear a lot, though. That's really cool. But go on.
You're going to bleep me.
No, I ain't beeping you. We ain't beeping shit. Go on. What do you got time for that?
Utah.
What? Utah? The home of Mitt Romney? That's on your favorites list?
Yeah.
What's it there? A Mormon church? What'd you like? What's it called? Big oh goodness. They have this huge
the church?
No. They have this. It was protected, this giant park area that was all the fuss about because Trump, the president, just recently opened it up where now I think you could do some drilling and stuff there. But there was this huge protected area that had like a lot of, ancient like Native American symbols and stuff in the caves and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's cool. No, I didn't know about that.
So where in Utah were you?
So I've done like a couple road trips now. So just going to like Zion, some of the state parks there, Canyons Land. It's just so beautiful. Like there are parts of southern Utah where you just feel like you're in Mars. So
really, really cool.
It's super cool.
Okay, now go on. You want to pick another country? Go on.
I forgot one of my favorite, Indonesia.
Yeah, you liked Indonesia?
Yeah, I go back every year.
When you say Indonesia, you mean Bali?
Bali, yeah.
Okay.
I've been to a couple of the other islands, but I go to Bali every year, so yeah.
Cool.
I can't believe it. See, that's why I was just like, I was thinking because I was like, I'm going to forget.
No, I mean, I'm sure Morgan come to you when you leave here. Okay, so someone listening to this, right? Listening to all these travel stories now, they want to travel and they're like, wait a minute, how can I travel like you? Because that shit sounds expensive. So let's see what advice you would give them.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you live in LA, sometimes it's actually cheaper to travel to these countries than to live here.
It is true.
Yeah, so if you want to travel, I guess if you want to work remotely, that's kind of what you're alluding to, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was just forget working remotely. Just in general, trying to travel cheaply, or in the beginning. When you did not have as much money, how did you travel cheaply?
Oh, well, when I was a student, couch surfing was pretty big. So couchsurfing.com, where you're basically sleeping on people's like strangers' homes on their couches for free, just in exchange of cultural exchange, or you can bring them a small gift. So yeah, it's like a community where you just offer up your couch.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Is that still going on?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Sure. What about hostels? Have you stayed in any hostels?
I have not a lot of experiences with hostels. It's funny because I was okay with sleeping on strangers' couches, but I kind of like didn't really like the idea of going to hostels.
You know what the problem is? What's his name? Eli Roth. That damn movie Hostel, okay? You kill an entire industry, Eli Roth. Okay, with that bullshit movie. That's not how hostels. I stay in hostels. Don't try to come and kill me. Yes, I'm black. I realize maybe they hit the other rooms, but they did not mess with my room, okay?
Oh my gosh. Aren't black people like the first to get killed?
Yes. The fact I live mean that nothing happened then. You're right. I probably would have been gone first. She watches the movies. You notice that, Hollywood, how quick she was with that, okay? Because that's right. We don't survive horror movies. The black dude lives in a horror movie. That's a bad movie. Anyway, go on.
There's also Airbnb. I love Airbnbs. Yeah, and you can find some good, cheap prices there.
So why did you like hostels?
I don't know. I always thought like they kind of felt kind of dirty. I don't know why. I mean, I've been to some, and I was like, oh, this is actually fun, and I eventually liked it. But it was just that initial idea of going to a hostel. I was just kind of like, I'd rather not.
It's because I mean listen, that movie Hostel, even though I said that jokingly, like that really freaked a lot of people out in terms of they see hostels as being these like remote places somewhere out in the woods.
Oh no, they have like the best locations.
They're in the center of the city, and when you go in, I mean, I ain't doing this no more, the hostel thing now, but like the guys in the hostel kind of become your family.
Oh yeah.
And some of them like stay in country a long time, so they know where everything is. And so you go out as a group.
They're the best guides.
Oh my
They're
God!
The best
so
guides.
You know the best things in country on day one. When your friends who go and stay in a hotel with their family, dude, they ain't seen the kind of shit you're seeing. So a hostel's cool for that.
Yeah, and what's fun is like sometimes you'll go to a whole new city and then you'll run into them as well. That's happened to me before.
Yeah. Because I did like Bolivia and Peru on the same trip. And, you know, they're right next door to each other. And so each country you run back into the same people at different hostels. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, hostels are great. Like, I love them now. Yeah.
She love them now. Just change your mind.
Well, let me take that back. I didn't like them, and then I loved them, and then now I'm like, I think I'm too old for them.
I mean, there definitely is a point in life where you like, you know.
You like the nice bed and the fluffy pillows.
Yeah, and you don't want to have to wait on this dude to finish showering for you to go in the bathroom and all that shit, you know? But in terms of cheap travel, have you ever heard of an around-the-world ticket?
No. What is that?
Okay, because I always encourage people who are trying to travel on a budget. So what it is different companies sell them. Like most airlines have them, but you have to call because these aren't usually listed.
Okay.
And so you would pay, like, let's say you buy a $1,000, like a $1,500, $2,000 ticket. And you have a year to complete the journey, right? And so the cheapest version would be like, let's say 6 stops. So if you leave LA, they would let you stop in New York and then stop in London and then stop in, let's say, some other country. And each stop, you would then visit the surrounding areas on your own, come back, and then fly out to the next one. And then you have a 1 year time to complete the trip. So it keeps it cheaper.
Yeah.
And it takes you to these different 8 stops, and then you would visit, you know, bus around or train around to the places around there, come back, and then fly out.
I've never heard of it before. That's cool.
And the more stops you want, the more the price becomes. And then if you can fly into one place and fly out another, then that's an additional price, you know?
Gotcha.
But yeah, you have a year and so I always encourage people to do that too. So between hostels and around the world tickets, you could get around
interesting.
Pretty cheaply.
There's also a site called skyscanner.com.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, they're great. So if if you're flexible with your destination and timeline, you can just say, I'm in LA. I choose everywhere as my location anytime, and they just show you where, whichever destination at whatever price point. So, I've gone to Europe on like $400 round trips before.
Whoa.
So.
That's sweet. Have you ever looked at Google Flights?
Google Flights is also good, but I usually do Google Flights for domestic flights, and then anything international, I'll look at Skyscanner.
So Skyscanner finds you cheaper deals than Google?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And they don't take it's not like Kayak or Expedia. It's just like they just show you the price points and you book directly
with
the airlines. Yeah.
Dude, that is cool. So of all the places you've been, tell me the craziest story. You have to have one or two. You need to think. She's going back in time.
I have two.
This one time in Timbuktu. Go ahead, finish it.
Not in Timbuktu. December 2013, I was a student doing my master's, and I had a ticket. So this was when I was in France, and I was going from France to Dubai with a 24-hour layover in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. So if you know what happened in December 2013, you'd know that's when...
That's when the war started?
That's when the war started.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
When Russia invaded Crimea.
That's exactly when it was happening.
And that's the northern or northern part of Ukraine? Okay.
So
anyway.
That shit was happening. A lot of protests were happening in the capital. I happened to be doing my layover in the capital. And instead of being smart and staying at the airport, I was like...
You left!
I was like, fuck it. Like, when else am I ever going to see a war protest? So I left the airport. So, I mean, getting out of the airport was a challenge of its own because no one speaks English in that country, dude.
You by yourself?
I was by myself, yeah. I was like 20 or 21. And because I didn't want to stay at the airport. Like I actually tried to change my ticket. So I went to the ticket counter. I was like, can I get my ticket changed? And they're like, no. Like, next flight is tomorrow. And I said, okay, well, what about today's flight? They're like, well, it's going to be $2,000. Ooh, I don't have that kind of money. And they're like, okay, well, you can stay at the airport. So then I asked her, I was just like, okay, what about city center? She didn't understand what that meant. And I was like, city center, still don't understand. Bus, downstairs, like go downstairs, taxi over there. So I go to like where the transportation area is, and all these taxi drivers are just swarming me to get, my business. And that scared the shit out of me. I was like, no, I'm not going with any of these taxi drivers. I finally find this like bus line, and it's weird. Like there's only one bus in the entire airport. So I was like, that's probably the right bus. Let's go to the city center. I mean, there's only one. So I just go in, and I'm on this bus for like basically what felt like 2 hours. And in my head, I'm just thinking like, oh my God.
Dude, you took a 2-hour bus ride?
Yeah, and I just thought like, fuck, this bus is going to Russia. I had no idea. It was just the only bus in the entire airport.
So you have no idea how you're getting back?
No, I was just like, this probably goes to the city center. I don't know. I got 24 hours. I'll figure it out. So I just get on the bus. Then they dropped me off. Thank God I wasn't in Russia, but I still don't know where they dropped me off. So I'm just like, okay, lots of trains here. So one of the trains is probably going to take me to the city center. I go into the station. I'm asking the ticket person. I'm asking, the police officers, like, hey, like, how can I go to the city center? They look at me like I'm stupid. Like, they're like, what do you want? Because they don't understand what I'm saying. And I was like, oh shit, like I'm in trouble now. Like no one's speaking English. And I started asking strangers, like, hello, can you help me? No one's helping me. It's middle of winter, it's cold, everyone's grumpy. Like it was just, yeah. And then eventually someone overheard me saying metro station or like city center. And he's just like, city center, come with me. And I got so excited because I thought this dude spoke English. So I was like, oh my God, like, you have no idea. Like, I've been running around for an hour trying to find someone to help me. And he's like, city center? I was like, shit, he doesn't speak English. But then, like, he showed me where the metro station was. He gave me some tokens to, like, go to the city center. And at first, I was about to, like, leave and say thank you. And I was like, wait a minute. You, me, city center, like go see. And he understood what I meant, and he's just like, okay, like I'll take you. And so he was pointing at his bag, like I guess he was just traveling. So he's like, okay, like I'm gonna go drop my bag off. Like I go on the bus, and so I was like, okay, so I guess I'm taking another bus ride with this dude I just met for him to go drop off his bag.
Dude, this sketchy as fuck. You know that, right?
Oh, it gets worse.
Go on.
Yeah, the dumb shit that you do when you're in your 20s. So I go on this bus ride with him, and it's like another hour and a half, 2 hours long. And by the way, like just to give you a picture, like these buses are from like the 1950s, 1960s.
No, I can imagine. I can imagine.
And there's like snow, and there's like nothing outside. Like you look out the window, and it's just nothing but snow. And we're with his friend too. And then the bus finally stops, and he's like, "This is where we're getting off." There's nothing around. I'm like, oh, shit. My body's like leaving with him, but my mind is telling me I should stay. This is stupid. But I get off the bus anyways. And like in the near distance, I see like these warehouses and factories. And I'm just thinking like, oh my God, there's nowhere to run to. Like, this is it. The bus just left, and like, there's nothing but snow here. Like, if I die, like, no one's going to know that I was here. And I still stupidly follow him towards the warehouse because I'm just such a trusting person at the time. And I mean, you know, long story short, he actually works there, so he actually did drop off his bag, and he's like, "Okay, let's go." So then we went back on another bus. We went to the city center. We got some food, and it was funny because like when I travel alone, I don't drink. Well, now I don't drink at all. But when I was traveling alone, I didn't drink, and he just kept trying to get me to drink vodka, and he was so confused why I kept saying no, and he thought I was being rude. He's just like, drink vodka, like. And then in the evening, he took me to the city center to like see where the protest was happening, which is like really crazy. Like, it's interesting because it kind of felt like what you would see in the news with like all the like political like violent protest mixed with like, I don't know, like Coachella or something. It was just like this weird mix of like a music festival and a protest, where you would have people throwing like putting garbage bins on fire, and then there's just people playing music on the stage, and then there's like angry speeches happening. There's Ukrainian flags everywhere, and it's so funny. I kid you not, there was this one dude like way up close to the stage that was holding a Canadian flag, and I so badly wanted to just like shove everyone out of the way to say hello to him, but I never got the chance. There's one more I have to add to this story, which was getting back to the airport was another journey.
How far away from the airport were you?
I don't know, 2-3 hours. I don't know.
The airport. So the airport is that far away from Kiev?
I think when I was going into the city, it was like rush hour time. Going back into the airport didn't take as long. It was going into the city. So going back to the airport, my flight is at like 10 a.m. or something. And so my thought process was, I'm going to go to the airport and sleep and then wake up for my flight. And this guy kept saying like come like sleep at my place. And I'm weird. I don't know why I would couch surf at certain people's places, like strangers' places. I guess it's because they have reviews, but then I refused to go back to this guy's place to sleep on his couch, even though he offered. So I'm like, no, I'm going to the airport. And again, keep in mind, he doesn't speak English.
Yeah.
I'm telling him like airport, sleep. And he just kind of kept arguing with me. He was getting upset, like, come back, like it's late. And we get on another train ride. So we're on a train ride, and like I'm just thinking like, I don't know where I'm going. Like, is he taking me to the airport or is he taking me back to his place? I have no idea. And then we get out of the train ride, and again we're in the middle of nowhere, just snow, it's dark, it's like, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the morning, and I just see this like 16-lane highway. That's all I see. It's like highway, snow. And he's like, we're going to the other side of the highway.
To walk across it? Were there cars?
Yeah. Yeah, because that's where the bus station was to go to the airport. So we had to cross the highway. I mean, luckily it's like really late at night, so there weren't too many cars. But yeah, we had to cross the highway. Then we're waiting for the airport bus to come. We wait 45 minutes, hour and a half. The bus is still not coming. So we're like, oh shit, time to hitchhike.
And you'll hitchhike.
So we hitchhiked to the airport. So he came into the car with me. We went all the way to the airport together, and then we said goodbye. And
Dude,
and
that
parted
dude's a
ways.
real hero.
Yeah.
That's the greatest ever.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Did you add him on Facebook or something?
No, he didn't have Facebook.
So you have no way of ever.
I have no way of ever contacting him, unfortunately. Yeah.
And you have no idea what his name is?
No. No, I know he wrote me a little note of like I think he wrote me like his address, but I don't know where I kept it. I feel bad, but I think I lost it. Yeah. So he was my Ukrainian hero.
So one of the things you just one of the things people listening to this. So you're a woman traveling alone. What's that like?
So my rule of thumb: don't drink when you're traveling by yourself, because you just never know what kind of situation you're going to get into.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the things I did were stupid. Where I look back, I'm like, man, like I don't know how I survived those. Just be smart. And I'm saying that from my own experience. There are so many stupid things that I did, but yeah.
So you don't drink at all now?
I don't drink at all now. Yeah. Yeah.
They completely quit.
Completely quit for the last year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just been this like new personal development journey that I've been kind of like embarked is how I would say it. So to give you a summary, so last August, so August 2018, I decided, fuck it, I'm moving out of LA. Like I
had enough.
I had enough. And it wasn't even LA. It was just like where I was in my life. I felt like I had, from an outsider's perspective, like everything going on in my life. I had a good relationship. I had a successful business. I'm traveling around the world. And yet I was really unhappy. Like I was so unhappy. And it was kind of weird because I was just like, everything is going really well. And this is situationally, the best that I've ever had it. But why am I so unhappy? So I started just organically. It wasn't even like I woke up one day, I was like, I'm going to change my life. It was just kind of like, I should start doing things to figure out why I'm not happy. So I broke up with my ex-boyfriend who I've, known since I was in college. And the next thing was taking more responsibilities off my shoulders and like really empowering my leadership team at WANDR to step up. And the third was moving out of LA. So I had a 2-bedroom apartment and just downgraded to 2 suitcases. I just threw everything out, like everything. Like the rule of thumb was if it didn't fit in my car, it was gone. And it was really refreshing. And then I decided to just be fully nomadic for a whole year and plus some. Yeah. And part of that journey, I was just like, drinking never really added a lot of value in my life. Like I partied a lot, so I have already gone through that phase of my life, and I hate hangovers. And the other thing was I hated waking up on Sunday mornings. Well, not Sunday mornings. I hated waking up on Sunday afternoons and feeling like shit and feeling like I wasted a whole day trying to recover. And I'm like, oh man, Monday's rolling around. And I just didn't like that feeling. So I was like, why? I already enjoy socializing and going out without having a drink. So it's funny because when I go out now, like I stay out longer than I used to when I was drinking because drinking would just kind of put me to sleep.
True.
Yeah. So I feel like I got my Sundays back. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question about, so during this presidential cycle, I was a huge Andrew Yang fan. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm a huge Yang fan, part of the Yang gang. And one of the things I realized with Asians is that when people always go like, so where are you from? And then the answer
where are you really from?
Yeah, the answer be like, I'm from Texas. No. Where are you really from? Is that racist in a way to you or not really? Because what they really mean is, are you Chinese? Are you Vietnamese?
You should just ask that though. Like, what are you culturally what is your cultural background versus, I think why Asians, or at least for me, like why I don't receive it too positively is because you're making an assumption that I'm not from America. Well, even though I'm not from America, but but you're just assuming that you look at me and you're like, oh, like you're a foreigner.
Yeah, but do you get that in Canada too, though?
Yeah.
But even if you get it in Canada, it really means like people are really curious to know where you're really from.
Yeah.
But why? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out like, it was so unusual because I never really, like in terms of following Yang,
Yeah.
I mean, I encountered a lot more Asians and became a little bit more familiar with culture. And that was one of the things that we all notice is that with Asians, people always go, where you from? No, not that. Where you really from?
Yeah.
Kind of as if, yeah, but you're not from here. You really, and I mean, it could be Asians who were born here, their parents were born here, their parents' parents were born here, going back to the 1800s.
Like
and
they could
still
be more American than you
yeah,
are.
like where are you from? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just weird. Speaking of which, though, a lot of Asians did not support Yang. I didn't get that.
I can't vote, so
Well, I
no
know you
say.
can't vote, but you're friends with them. I was just trying to figure out, like,
I try to stay out of politics.
okay,
That's all I'll say.
it was just unusual to see that, because that was a real beef in Asian community. Like, because
Yeah.
his Asian followers like, what are y'all doing? We got one of our own.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, just because you and the person are the same, I guess, race does not mean that you have to support them. So what's next for you? What's the next big thing for WANDR?
A lot of good things happening this year. And I'll tell you the reason why I decided to come back to LA as well. So I moved back here in LA in November. So from August 2018 to November 2019, I was out. I'm just back to focus, basically. Like I felt like I needed that time to detox all the negativity out of my life, detox everything that wasn't making me happy, and regain experiences that was adding value. And now I'm like, okay, I have all that on my personal life side. I want to focus on the work side. So I'm here to grow out my team. We're still expanding remotely, but we're trying to hire more in California. So yeah, just expansion.
Okay. So jobs like this, I mean, with these remote jobs, obviously, I guess you need to have some kind of education background. Like, this is not something that the remote jobs are not something like let's say the typical college dropout can do, right?
That's not true.
No?
You're making assumptions.
Well, no, that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Ain't an assumption. I'm asking a question.
Yeah, no, I mean, at WANDR, we have people who have never gone to college all the way to people who have 2 masters. So we're quite diverse in that. It doesn't matter like what kind of educational background you have or even like what historically what work experiences that you have. It's just as long as you're the right fit for the job that we need done, then it really doesn't matter where you're coming from. And I think that's part of my own personality because I have such a wide variety of experiences that I really don't think it matters where someone comes from or what they've done in the past. It just really matters like who you are like now in the moment and like who you're aspiring to be and what you're aspiring to do.
What country are you looking forward to visit that you haven't been to yet?
I really want to go to Antarctica.
Okay.
Antarctica and Iran when it's not in turmoils like this right now.
Yeah, they just had 2 coronavirus cases drop yesterday, so
Yeah.
it's there now. And besides that, I mean, they have other issues even prior to that.
Yeah.
So that one I have to be on the back burner for a while.
Yeah, it's so funny because I was out in the Middle East earlier this year, and I was in Dubai, and I was supposed to go to Doha because we work with the U.S. Air Force. So I was going to go out to the Doha base out there to do some workshops with the airmen, and literally like 7 hours before my flight, my contact calls me at 1 a.m. They're like, Jinny, I don't know if you're seeing the news right now, but you cannot come to Qatar. Like, go home or like, stay in Dubai, but you can't come here.
Oh, this was when Iran was threatening to bomb Qatar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. January 8th.
Yeah. This was right after Soleimani was killed then. After
It was immediately after. Yeah.
the Iranian general.
So yeah, like that day I had to like fly back to LA, and it's crazy because I just caught up with my contact, and he was just saying like, it's a good thing you didn't come because you would have, if you had come to Doha, first of all, we would not have been able to host you, and then secondly, like you would have been stuck there because the air traffic was closed for a few days or a week or so.
Shit.
Yeah.
That is.
So another one of my travel stories.
So you will have you gone since everything calmed down now?
No, I haven't. No, I'm still in contact to see if I can go back there.
So right now with this coronavirus, you have to I guess you have to slow down your travels, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So where you gonna set up shop right now?
Right now I'm here in LA. So LA and San Francisco. I'm actually going to be flying out as soon as this interview's done. So yeah, I'm just going to be here for a while.
Until this cools down. You're not going to Asia right now, I'm assuming.
I'm not going to Asia.
Like, when's your next trip to Asia? Or you don't have anything on?
I don't have anything planned.
Okay,
yeah,
cool,
usually I'll go to Korea to see my family, but I don't have
So
anything.
your parents are there?
No, my parents are in North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, but my sister and everybody else is in Korea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they have Korea's turning into a little hotbed for coronavirus too.
I know, yeah. So I don't think I'm going to Asia anytime soon. I am going to Italy though in April.
Boy, you wouldn't want to hear this. Because they had a little outbreak in Italy as well. They have like 10 towns shut down.
Oof.
But anyway, okay, let's look at the positive. Okay, this will pass. You know, summer's coming as it heats
more
up.
people died of the common flu than the coronavirus. So think about that.
Yeah, they always tell you that shit. Hey, you don't need to be scared. More people have died of the common flu. Yeah, but that shit ain't on the news. This is. Okay, and this spreading fast.
Yeah.
So we wish you continued success with
Thank
WANDR,
you.
and you have that real, true entrepreneurial spirit. And it's good to see you out there busting ass as a woman. And hopefully you could be, president of Canada pretty soon. You know,
Prime Minister.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, Prime Minister of Canada pretty soon.
Thank you. Well,
What city was?
I was in Toronto.
Okay, in Toronto. Yeah.
But I haven't gone back to Toronto since 2008, yeah. Was the last time I was in Toronto.
Was that the last time you were in Canada, though?
No, I went to Vancouver like 3 years ago, yeah.
Okay, so you're not really Canadian because you don't even go.
Yeah, I don't have a reason to. I don't have family there. Yeah.
Okay. When you can become an American?
I don't know. I'm debating because my green card's going to expire this year.
Would you want to?
I guess it's just not priority for me because the only difference between the green card and the citizenship for me right now is one, the security, the voting, and jury duty, which I'm kind of like, I don't want to do jury duty. I don't really think I'm informed enough to vote. And
What do you mean you're not informed enough to vote? What you need to know?
I want to make smart decisions, so I don't like to get. That's why I said earlier, like I don't get involved in politics because I'm not informed enough to you know have my opinion
Your
and
voting
express my
even
opinion.
I mean, I shouldn't say it like that.
Yeah.
Maybe like on local level, but California presidential campaign.
Yeah.
We already know who's gonna win. Alabama, we already know who's gonna win. It's only a handful of states that really decide who the president is. You know.
Yeah.
And unless you live in one of them, then you can take the day off. I shouldn't say that. I'm not encouraging you guys not to vote. Please do vote, even though your shit's not gonna count depending on where you live. Okay. Anyway, guys, that is Jinny. Oh, tell them where they could find you.
Social media, you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. I'm sort of active on it. It's Jinny, JINNYOHH.
Yeah, I stalked you on Insta. I saw some of your pictures, little travel pictures, wanderlust, whatever. Anyway, all right, guys, check her out. So, adios, mi gente, nos vemos. Thank you again, Jinny.
Thank you so much. Dude, that was so fun.